Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another question of the week. In one of my previous videos, I talked about whether or not an old-type pilot could pilot a new-type mobile suit. And I got quite a few comments amongst the lines of, but what about the exam system or one of these similar systems? And the simple answer to those questions is because that just wasn't the question I was answering in that video. A Newtype machine is a mobile suit that is built for Newtypes to take advantage of their Newtype powers. Systems like the exam system, on the other hand, are built for all types to give them like pretend Newtype powers. So there's no question about whether or not they can use them. It is designed for them. But since so many people did ask about them, today, let's go over all of those pretend Newtype systems and also several reasons as to why you don't want to use them. Well, why you won't want to use most of them. First up, we have the exam system. Obviously, the most famous one of the bunch. Now, I did already cover this in a previous video, so I will be briefer in this video. The system was first developed by Xeon by Dr. Clust Moses, who was an old type who was deadly afraid of new types. So he decided to dedicate his research to a way for old types to compete with them. And the answer was the exam system. Moses managed to somehow trap the soul of a new type girl called Marion Welch inside of this system, and this system would then forcibly give her new type powers to the pilot of the mobile suit. This not only sounds crazy, but it actually was crazy. Because in addition to giving her new type powers to the pilot, she would also try to reach out to them and beg them to release her tortured soul. Something that has driven many test pilots mad. And another side effect of this very unorthodox technology was that souls and machines aren't exactly made to be compatible with each other, so the system was both unstable and hard to control. As a result, the exam system could only be activated for a short amount of time, and was known to go berserk, attacking anyone in the vicinity who it deemed to be a valid target, be they friend or foe. Oh, and as a side note, because it uses the soul of an actual new type, I do believe that if you were to install the exam system into something like the Xeon or the Elmeth, it would give a non-new type pilot the ability to use new type weaponry once the exam system activates. But yeah, as cool as fin funnels and red visors are, there are multiple big issues that might want to make you reconsider using this system. Not that you could even if you wanted to, but to find out why that is, again, you can watch my older video on the subject. But the combat results were undeniable, so many researchers in the Federation didn't just want to give up on this system. At some point during the one-year war, the Augusta lab put in a request for all of the data concerning the exam system, because they wanted to find a way to recreate the system, but without the need for the new type soul trapped inside of it. And the result of their work was the Hyper-Animosity Detect Estimate System, or HADES for short. This system would be installed into the powerful Pale Rider mobile suit, and it was a complete success. Just like the exam system, HADES gave the pilot a temporary new type-esque power boost without the need for a new type soul to be in the mobile suit. However, the way in which it achieves this is where the problems begin. The system increases the reflexes of the pilot by messing with the neurotransmitters in their brain. And this has fun side effects like memory loss, a shortened lifespan, not being able to digest food, and going berserk in combat. And unfortunately, HADES wasn't optional. Just like the exam system and the later NTD system, If Hades decided that a certain enemy was enough of a threat, it would activate automatically, and it could even take straight up control of the mobile suit. Which is where the name of the machine also comes from. It is called the Pale Rider because the mobile suit is the one that is in control and not the pilot. And even when it wasn't straight up taking control, it was still suggesting the best course of action to the pilot through its learning computer. So the mobile suit / Hades was well and truly in control of what was going on in the battle. And during the development of Hades, 3 other similar systems were also made with the goal of collecting more data for the finalized Hades. Themis was a simplified Hades and was installed into the Black Rider, Zeus was a fire control system installed in the White Rider, and Ares was Hades-like, with its main defining feature being that it used voice commands. It was installed into the Red Rider, and the way it worked was that when activated, it removed the limiter, boosting its performance by 150% for 5 minutes. However, this performance boost was so taxing on the pilot that it actually gave him a seriously high risk of going into cardiac arrest, as evidenced by the fact that it had a dedicated resuscitation system installed into the cockpit, the RIM-VOS system. So, that's fun. And another fun fact was that the people working on these systems apparently had a really hard time finding test pilots. Gee, I wonder why. So they decided to use war orphans, who were then enhanced through various means, a procedure that would become the prototype for the later cyber Newtypes. So again, Hades wasn't something that you'd want to be using. Another development of the exam system then was the Neo exam system, developed by True Federal. They tried to get their hands on the data of the exam system, but there was very little left, so they tried to recreate the system by filling in the gaps. And for so little information being left, the end result still was something that resembled the original exam system, both its pros and its cons. The machine got a Newtype-esque power boost, but was still extremely tricky to use, and the machine could go berserk. But the real purpose of this Neo exam system was to serve as a stepping stone for the Demon Blade AI system. A system that sends out special waves to activate the latent Newtype powers of the pilot. So, unlike the other systems in this video, it seems like you do at least need some kind of Newtype aptitude to use this system. Next up then, we have the Newtype Injection Trace Reformed Old-Type system, or the Nitro system for short. Originally, this system was meant for normal pilots to use the Psycho Gundam, but it was a complete failure. Pilots would expire after only a single test, and therefore the Titans decided to shelve the system. It was too much even for them. But then Anaheim came along, looked at the test results, and were like, we gotta get in this. We're gonna do it better. And so they improved the system, installed it into the Gundam Delta Kai, and it actually was quite successful. It gave cyber Newtype powers to an old-type pilot by forcibly rewriting their brain on the fly. And those powers do seem to be fully fledged cyber Newtype powers, because in addition to like an overall performance boost and better reflexes, it also gave an old-type pilot the ability to use remote weaponry. And the only side effect is that the pilot becomes more aggressive and can potentially lose control. Which, I mean, it's not good, but when you compare it to things like the exam system or the Hades that we just went over, It sounds like only a minor inconvenience, especially for a system that supposedly rewrites your brain. And before we go over our final pretend Newtype systems, I want to answer another question that I've seen pop up, both in my own comment section and just on the internet in general. What if a Newtype were to use one of these systems? Like, would it just do nothing, or would it make him even stronger? And well, the official answer is that we just don't really know. So what I'm going to be telling you now is my own interpretation. For the exam system, it relies on the powers of Marion Welch. So I feel like you're going to get diminishing returns as the pilot is a stronger Newtype. And depending on how the system works, I think you might just outgrow it completely once your Newtype powers are stronger than the Newtype powers of Marion. Think of it like Newtype training wheels. They help you out in the beginning, but once you're good enough, they're actually going to get in the way. The Hades system and everything surrounding it then is a bit of a tricky question because everything about it sounds like prototype cyber Newtype stuff. And we even get specifically mentioned that the process to enhance the pilot is a prototype for cyber Newtypes. But all of this was done at a time where the Federation only had a surface level understanding of what made a Newtype, and also what they were capable of. What they saw was that Newtypes had incredibly fast response times. So that's what they were going for. Look at the Alex, for example. So I think that it would boost the power of a Newtype, but only their reaction speed and not their actual Newtype powers. So like if they weren't good with Newtype weaponry before because they were too weak of a Newtype, I don't think this is going to help them with that. Which was the case with the Nitro system, because this system is basically like Insta-Cyber Newtype. Cyber Newtype in a can. So since the regular Cyber Newtype treatment can give a Newtype more Newtype powers, I believe that the Nitro system would do just the same. And finally then, we have two systems that don't actually have any negative impacts on the pilot. The Half Control system and the Quasi-Psycommu System. And both are systems that allow an all-type pilot to pull off an all-range attack with wire-guided weapons. The Half Control system was only installed into the Neue Ziel and was still quite difficult to use, whereas the Quasi-Psycommu system basically reads the mind of the pilot and then translates this into movement data for simplified funnel-like weapons, like the incomes. The only downsides with these weapons were that they had to be wire-guided and that their movements were rather basic compared to, like, true Newtype weapons. But still, I think that is a very worthy trade-off, considering what could happen to you if you use a system that turns you into an actual Newtype. Also, there were some remote weapons that could be used wirelessly with the Quasi-Psycommu system, but these were extremely rare. Like, the only one that immediately comes to my mind is the Commander version of the Dovin Wolf. Oh, and while the Hades system might not have had an effect on actual Newtype weaponry, it did help with those Quasi-Psycommu weapons, like for example, the incomes that were installed on the Todesritter. And as an added bonus, it also helped with controlling the sub-arms. Although I still wouldn't recommend actually using the system. So yeah, if you want to feel like a Newtype, I'd suggest sticking to incomes, or, you know, try harder and become an actual Newtype. But let me know what you think about all of this down below. And if you have a question you'd want me to answer in a future Question of the Week video, you can also leave that down there. As always, a big thank you to the Patreon supporters. I hope everyone watching has a great evening, and I'll see you all next time.